Hi, this is Trisha Morris here at Club Scrap with another fabulous card kit called Sprinkles. This is a lot of fun and it's perfect for summer, which has just arrived here in Wisconsin, maybe just for the next day or two. It's just me at the office here with a fly. So if he comes along, just say hello. I've got my instructions printed, my kit's handy here. Before we get started, I want to show you the 14 cards we can make with this kit. We've got this adorable little shaker card complete with little foam sprinkles inside. We'll make 4 of those in a couple of different styles, and we'll even tear away those windows and everything without the use of any kind of a knife or tool like that. Then we have a split flap card, a card that opens from the right and the left. And we've got these adorable little tasting spoons we're using as embellishments for the 4 split flap cards. And then our final set of 4 will be this 5x7 multiple nesting card. You can see there are just tons and tons of layers on all of these cards, which is so much fun that we're able to trim all of this from just 11 sheets of paper. And then because I had enough left, I chose to make just 2 bonus cards. They're a smaller, what I would call 4-bar envelope. Speaking of envelopes, all the envelopes needed for all of the cards are included in this kit because there's nothing worse than having a card and no envelope. And then we've got, of course, our little plastic spoons. We got tons of them, more than we need, but they're just so cute. We had to include some extras. And then we've got some yellow satin ribbon and some twine. There's a couple of photo mats. These are cut to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, so it worked out great to help us with our 5x7 nesting cards. Then we have a sheet of this transparency film for the shaker cards, and of course our 12 by 12 papers and cut aparts. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my instructions, and we'll get this paper sorted into the order in which we'll be using it. Okay, when we have our instructions, what I usually do is save the cut aparts till last, even though they're on the first page. And now I'll look at the second page and start sorting the paper in the order in which it's listed on all the trimming instructions. And be careful because at the top, sometimes we're trimming 2 sheets in the same way. So the first thing we want to find is 1 red plain and 1 white print. So I have those 2 pieces. I'll turn the white print upside down, so I'm stacking from bottom to top here. Then we need a green plain, just 1 of them. There's multiples of a lot of the sheets. It's really heavy duty, I guess. Yeah, that's 1 sheet. And a blue plain. Then another red plain and the other white print. I just love this white print. It's so festive and fun for the Sprinkles kit. Then there's 1 yellow plain that we need. I'll move on to the next page here. Another green plain is next. And a blue plain. And another, a pair of white planes. Then we have our cut apart. So we'll do those last and get everything filed into our accordion pocket file. I've got my trimmer here, so we'll get started with the trimming. Before we start, I want to quick show you my accordion pocket file. I've added 2 pieces of Velcro dots, and we carry these on our website, so check them out. I think they're called Hook and Loop dots because it's not a Velcro brand. And so I have the fuzzy side here and then the loop side here, and you just kind of hook it on there. And that way, if you're working with these heavier materials, like more materials like we would in this card kit, then you're assured that this won't fall back and drop what you're working on the floor, which is never a good thing. Now I have a new feature on these instructions for the card kits when we're cutting the elements from raw 12 by 12s. Do you see the arrow here? That arrow indicates the way we want the grain direction of the paper to fall when we start our trimming. So to do that, it's very easy. Just hold the paper by an edge and watch what it does. See how flexible it is. Then rotate and then check the flexibility in the other direction. Now for me, this is extremely stiff and this is a lot more pliable. So you look at the image, you want that pliable direction, or the way that it wants to dip, to go in the same direction as this arrow. So again, my dippiness is from the top to the bottom. And then that way we know that when we are folding our cards, then the fold will be with the grain of the paper. Pretty handy, right? All right, so let's just dive right in with our trimming. We'll start at 11 inches and then 5.5. Now take both pieces of 5.5-inch paper and rotate them horizontally and cut at 8.5. Now, normally these would be scored, but I've actually designed the cards in this kit so we don't need a score pal, so I'm going to actually skip that today and go ahead and file this in Pocket A. If you wanted to score these at 4 1/4, you could do that, and that is listed in the instructions. Now we have these other smaller panels. We're going to file those in Pocket C or pile. If you don't have a pocket, just create 3 piles, or actually in this case 4, because we have the bonus cards. Now we have this one piece here. We're going to cut it at 7.5 inches, and since it's such a narrow piece, I'm going to bring the paper down lower so that it's aligned with this edge of my inches line, and cut it at 7.5. Now this long piece is a scrap. The smaller one is used in D, so I'm going to use the 4th pocket of my folio. We'll repeat that whole process with the white print, and I think I'll go ahead. I just got to let the grain direction lead the way. It's much more dippy in this direction. So again, we'll cut at 11 and 5.5. Rotate, cut at 8.5. This gets filed in A, these get filed in C, and this gets trimmed at 7.5. And you got a piece, the smaller piece in D. Okay, the next pieces will be the green and the blue plain. Now, they are trimmed the same way, so let's just trim them at the same time if you feel comfortable. If you do not feel comfortable with that, it's okay. Just do it one at a time and then rewind to get the trimming information. So grain direction, once again, dips easily from top to bottom. I'll repeat that with my second piece of blue. Stack them neatly together, cut at 11 1/4. 6 1/4. Rotate this piece so it's horizontal and cut at 9. Place this into Pocket B. This smaller rectangle is a scrap. Pick up the next largest piece. We'll cut horizontally at 10 1/4, 7, and 3 3/4. Take this larger piece and put it in Pocket A. We'll take this next pairing of pieces and we'll cut horizontally at 4.5. And we'll do that with each of them. 4.5. Stack them all up and put them in Pocket A. And we just have a little pile of skinny scraps here. This other rectangle is also a scrap, as is these the 3/4 by 12-inch piece. So we're making a fair amount of scrap, but not too bad. Okay, red plain and white print. We'll cut these simultaneously. Grain direction, once again, needs to dip easily from top to bottom. Okay. We'll cut at 11 1/4 and 7. Rotate this piece so it's horizontal and cut at 10. Place these large pieces in Pocket C. Then pick up the 2 by 7-inch strip and cut it horizontally at 6. This guy is a scrap, and these will go in Pocket B. The largest remaining piece will cut horizontally at 6. And file those in Pocket B. Once again, with these really little guys, we're going to trim them horizontally at 7.5. The larger pieces are scrap, the smaller ones will go in Pocket D. For the yellow plain, the grain direction needs to be different. So we're going to make sure we check our grain. This is the grain, and I want it to dip easily from left to right. Cut at 8. Then rotate this larger 8-inch piece, cut horizontally at 11 1/4, 9, and 4 1/2. Now take each 4 1/2 by 8, there's going to be 2 of them, and cut them horizontally at 4. These 4 pieces go in card set B. Now I have this longer rectangle, it's 2 1/4 by 8. Okay, you'll have to pardon me. I had a miscalculation in my trimming instructions. So when you do have that 2 1/4 by 8-inch piece, you'll cut that horizontally at 5 3/4 and 3 1/2, and that's going to give you a scrap that's this long. It's going to be 3 1/2 inches long, and you'll have these 2 squares. The 2 squares will be placed in pocket D. Okay, my apologies. Okay, here's another skinny little scrap, and now we have this longer strip. We'll trim this horizontally at 6 and file both of these pieces in pocket C. C is that card where we have tons and tons of awesome nesting panels. Okay, grabbing the next 2 sheets now, we want our green and blue. So the grain, once again, needs to be running top to bottom. So here we go. And this also dips easily top to bottom. Okay, 1 sheet of each. Let's get this done. We'll cut at 7 inches. Rotate and cut at 10. This large piece goes in pocket C. Now we have the 2 by 7, and we're going to cut this horizontally at 6. This is very similar to a previous piece that we've trimmed the same exact way up to this point. And then these will go in pocket B. And we've got some little scraps here to dispose of. Now we have this long strip here. Let's cut at 9, 6, and 3. 9, 6, and 3. Okay, let's take the top 2 sets of rectangles. Both of them will go in pocket C. Then we have another set of rectangles. They're all the same size, basically. So we're just going to work with them in sets. This one we cut at 4 1/2 inches. Take a little bit off the end. And that goes in pocket D. And then we have one other set that is not used. Before I forget, I'm going to have you trim the transparency. Now this piece is an 8 1/2 by 11. And I don't have a sketch for this, but it's pretty easy. On page 1 of the instructions, it has you trim this film horizontally at 6 and 3. And what that means here, for starters, is that you're going to have a whole chunk of transparency left over. So if you want to make some more shaker cards, you can. 6 and 3. Okay, then take the 2 3-inch pieces. I'm leaving that tissue or that paper attached to the film so that it's easier to work with. And we're going to cut horizontally at 4 1/4. We're basically just cutting this in half. All right. And all of these little transparency film pieces will go in pocket A. Those will be used for our shaker card. The rest of this piece is for more shaker cards you can make on your own. And you know, with this stuff that you have, there's plenty to go around. You have these photo mats. Those will also be placed in pocket C. And, oh yes, we still have 2 more white pieces to trim. So that was just a little interlude there before we did our final piece. Okay, so we can use both of these at the same time. This beautiful white paper has what I would call a laid finish, and we want it dipping easily from top to bottom. Always check that diagram for the best orientation, because I have this set up so that it's nice and easy for you to fold the papers when the time comes for making our card bases. Okay, let's cut this at 11 1/4 once again, and 6 1/4. Rotate and cut at 9. These larger pieces will go in pocket B with the others. And my friends, this is a scrap. Here we're going to cut this larger, widest piece that remains horizontally at 10 3/4 and 7. Right here are 2 card bases for the bonus cards in set D, and this is going to be placed in pocket A. Here we have a few scraps. We'll just set those aside in our scrap pile. Lastly, we'll trim our cut aparts, and I really worked hard to try to get this trimming as quick and easy as possible, but right out of the gates I want to tell you that there's going to be a little scrap that needs to come off the edge of this piece that has the words happy birthday with all their frames on it. And it's just an intentional scrap here. So I will align those registration marks, which are white, with the edge of my trimming blade, which I can see perfectly, and just make that slice. And I can even do this one. Now I'll rotate. And these 2 pieces go in pocket A. We'll slice the Enjoy in half as well. They also go in A. And all the rest of this strip, once trimmed, will go in pocket A as well. Now we have this last piece, and once again, there's going to be a small scrap that comes off the end. And the remaining 4 panels are placed in pocket C. When we trim this piece, make sure you do not start here at the top and end up cutting through your innies right there. So you've got to make a bigger slice to start. And then 1 more vertical before we rotate. Now all 8 of the pieces we'll make from this section will be placed in pocket B. Now we'll trim each of these into individuals. There's a quicker way to do this, and I'll show you what I think is the fastest way. So we're going to first take off the 4 narrow pieces from the end, as would be our practice. Then take this piece and rotate it and make 1 vertical cut. Notice I'm not worrying so much about having it up against the top edge of my trimmer base here at the ridge. I want to be able to really see how I have this lined up. That way now I just have 2 pieces I can just work horizontally now. Maybe even along the top edge here. And I can just cut them all into boxes more quickly than I can if I have to pick up each individual pair. And that's the reason why I do it in columns first and then rows. Okay, let's sort all these pieces. We've got the Sunday Celebrate Big, and another Sunday and another Celebrate Big. Those all go in A. Then we have the Hey and Cool and Sweet. Those go in D. Finally, we've got 4 little skinny guys. All of them go in C. Ta-da! That is all the trimming that's required to make 14 cards. We do have a little pile of scraps I've got it set aside, and you can do with those what you want, but let's get busy with our card making. Once you empty everything from pocket A, we can do what I call the deal, which is where we just figure out what is going to go with each card. And if you keep your instruction sheet handle, hopefully we'll be able to figure this out together. There are all kinds of panels of various sizes, so if I grab the largest set of panels, and I can also consult my instructions for reference, but looks like 1 card gets a white large panel, the red gets a blue, and then one of the darker prints gets a white panel, and this other one gets a green panel. So there you have it. Now what's not visible here is sort of this other set of nesting panels, and the reason you can't see this, it will become evident as we construct our shaker card, but if you see that little reveal right here, it's green on this first card. So I'm going to put a green one there. There's a green one with this, and then 2 blues over here. Then each card will get the frame that ends up on the front of the card. So this is going to be one of the ones with the ice cream cones here and here, the verticals here. Each card needs a transparency, so we'll get those distributed, and an inner sentiment and an outside sentiment. So we've got Celebrate Big, Celebrate Big, we get this little Sunday, and all 4 of these get the word Enjoy. So everything came out of that pocket and is dispensed onto these cards. So let's just go ahead and make this first sweet little shaker card. As I mentioned before, normally I would score the card base, but because I have trimmed the paper with the grain direction, when I fold it in half, it will fold willingly. And maybe just take a bone folder and just give that fold a nice little crease. My idea was to be able to take the show on the road here and be able to teach this in a classroom environment where I don't always have the ability to bring in score pals, and they're kind of bulky. So the first job here is to create a frame for our shaker, and that too posed a challenge for classroom use, and I just wanted it to be easy for everyone to be able to accomplish this. So here's what you can do. Take either a paper piercing tool or a knife, whatever you prefer, and just create an opening in the middle of that frame. Then come in with scissors and just cut right to the outside corner of the chalkboard frame, the white one, the innermost. And I'm just making 4 triangles. Then I need a ruler. So of course I'm going to reach for the Club Scraps grid ruler and place it right over the edge of that chalkboard line. And you've got these triangular flaps, so just pull toward you to remove the flaps. And this is going to create a really nice little window for our shaker card. Okay, so I have a frame, and that's what you need to make a shaker card. Isn't that cool? Okay, now the next thing, and you know, with shaker cards, I think what's most pivotal is order of assembly. They're not difficult to make. You just have to be thinking about the assembly process. So the next step, temporarily place this onto the green panel. Check from the back to make sure it's really nicely centered. And it is. It's nesting perfectly. Flip it back over, grab some adhesive, and put it on the back of the Celebrate Big panel. Without moving this green panel, center this into the opening. That's all you got to do. Now, flip over the frame panel. And at this point, we need to attach our plastic or our transparency film to this panel. What kind of adhesive should you use? Well, how about our bookbinding glue? Because it does work well with non-porous surfaces. So I'm just going to put some of our glue from a needle tip applicator just around the edge of the film, and then place this onto the card frame here. Perfect. Okay. Now, this is something I didn't provide in your kit, but you will need some foam adhesive strips. You can use whatever you happen to have on hand. There are various brands out there. I'm reaching for them right now. Of course, Club Scrap has foam adhesive circles, so if you really didn't have access to any other type of adhesive, foam adhesive, you could peel these off and put them in rows so that but they have to be touching. You have to form a complete barrier. I used these longer strips, and honestly, I don't have the packaging. They might have been made by 3M. And I use them to create a frame around the outside of my panel. So you just piece them together in whatever size strip you need. So I'll just grab a strip off of here. You might be on a roll, whatever type of foam tape you decide to use is fine. I did notice that the foam spheres that we have are pretty large. So if you have a thicker kind of foam adhesive you want to work with, you'll get more movement and motion from your dots, but mine still worked adequately. So I'm going to stick with this, I think it's 1/8 inch thickness, but a little thicker can get kind of bulky too. So depends if you want to throw that card in the mail. All right, notice I'm just working my way around the perimeter of my card with this foam tape. And naturally I have a really tiny little piece to fit in there, but that's okay. We can do that. There. Just remember, you have to form a complete rectangle. Okay, now let's get our supplies ready. These are the little foam dots, and I'm just going to open the corner of the bag here. And what will be prevalent in here is some static electricity, which is never fun. This needs to be placed on top. So I have to make sure that when I place this piece, that the Celebrate Big shows up in the window and that the card will be completed with the right orientation. I hope that makes sense. Let's see, should we do foam dots first and then remove the backing? I think that's the way we're going to have to do it. So I'm just going to dump some, and a little goes a really long way. Can you just trust me on this? Just a little goes a long way. They don't even want to leave the bag so much. They're happy in there because of this dry Wisconsin springish air. Okay, so I have a small amount of foam spheres in my little shaker card, and then what I have to do is remove the backing from the foam strips. Just do that very carefully so that the foam doesn't hop as it likes to do when you're removing the backing. And also just maybe take the cats out of the room and put them somewhere else so that because cats I think would probably love this. I don't personally have a cat, but I think they would love this. This piece, I have to put it face down on here. So I have this measured so that you can see exactly how to nest this back on there, right? As centered as possible. And then just press down firmly. Ah! Isn't that cute? So those foam dots, like I said, they're pretty large, so they don't move around a lot, but they certainly create a really cool effect with that vision for the shaker card that we had. Okay, so the most challenging part is complete. So now all we need to do is put a little adhesive on the back of this and nest it onto the white panel. Okay, now all I've got to do is let's put some adhesive on the back of this white larger panel. And now you can see why I needed that green panel to be just a little smaller so I could see to nest it from bird's eye view. And then we have got a second larger panel on which to mat that. And on the inside, we will go ahead and add our enjoy, because that's what we do when we're having ice cream. That is card set A. And as is my custom when I'm filming, I will take my sample card with all the other pieces all stacked up on their appropriate card bases. This is going to be an A2 envelope, which you could take each individual portion of card pieces into each individual envelope, or you can just put the sample and all of the pieces into an envelope, which is what I usually do just for efficiency. We'll set that aside, and then I'll show you how to make the other two card structures. I've emptied everything from the pocket, the second pocket, or pocket B, and I flipped page 4 of the instructions where I can see an image of each card. That way I can sort of keep track of how to do this deal. And so I'm going to begin with white, a blue, a green, and another white. And that just simply mimics what's going on in the image that I have here in the instructions. Then it looks like I have a decorative panel with a print on it. So there's one that has more red flecks, one more blue and green. So I'll put those on the respective piles. And then we have a larger red panel on this blue, another larger red panel on the white. Let's see, and then we have these strips. So again, I'm just looking at my image of the completed card to see what color goes where. Do you have to use these colors in these spots? Absolutely not. I just spent a fair amount of time considering it once. So I think that was enough for me, and I'm just gonna go with my original spot. Okay, hope you are the sweetest, or you are the sweetest thing, with hoping you're feeling better soon. Aw, so nice. Okay, then we have another you are just the sweetest thing with thanks so much. And then a plain with hope your day is as sweet as you are. And then another ice cream cone with happy birthday to the sweetest kid I know. And that is, I love this. Okay, let's go ahead and make this sweetest thing card. We'll begin by taking this card base, and since we cut it with the grain, folding it in half should be relatively easy. Make a crease, it won't be all wrinkled, and burnish it with a bone folder. Then just take one flap of that card and fold it in half so that it meets the original fold. That first fold would be a mountain fold. We want to meet the mountain. Perfect. Again, no scoring tool required. The very next thing we're going to do is take this yellow panel and place it vertically in front of you. That means the long ways facing up, or like a portrait. And you'll need a grid ruler. And to find a 1/2 inch from the left edge, I'm going to start with my ruler here, is at 0 right now. If I scoot it over to the first solid line, that's 1/4 of an inch. It's actually 2 cubes, but the first solid line is 1/4. The second solid line is 1/2. And I'm sorry if that's just really elementary to you, but I think sometimes newbies find that helpful to know that information. So I'm going to use the tip of my bone folder to make a score. And then just fold back on that line. And now we have a little 1/2 inch tab that we made without the help of any kind of a tool. Okay, so then I'm going to take this larger panel and hook the tab of this yellow panel onto the larger one, so it's center top to bottom along the right edge of a vertical piece here. So everything's vertical. So that's where I want it to live. To attach it, I'll put adhesive, our bookbinding glue, on that little panel and hook it back around. I'm not measuring this for center, I'm just eyeballing it. Push down on that tab from the back. And then if you'd like, you can adhere this to the inside of your white card base. Nice. Now, order of assembly here is really important with this because of the little spoon that we want to attach. So I'm going to begin with this yellow ribbon and cut off enough to stretch from the top and bottom of this 6-inch red panel. Please pardon my voice. I don't know what's happening to it. I think maybe I just need to stop talking. Okay, so let me just stretch this across here, and I'm going to go a little bit to the left with this. Loop it around to the back. Notice I grabbed 2 pieces of tape, and I'm going to loosely-ish. Don't want it too tight, because if I tie something onto this ribbon, it's going to shorten it a little bit, and I don't want it to over tighten. Okay, so the next spot will be to adhere this to the folded front flap of the card. Center that as best you can. And this will end up being in the front here. Okay. Now, I'm going to reach into my little bag and choose a spoon color. It can be anything. Maybe I'll go with red and just coordinate the whole deal. So the way I'm going to attach the spoon is just place it kind of where I want it to be and loop it back around with another piece of ribbon and just tie the spoon right onto the existing ribbon that you added to the panel earlier. If you want, you can just do that with a double knot. You can make a bow if you like. In this case, I'm going to keep it casual. Just make it a double knot and trim those ribbon tails. Sweet as can be. Okay, so then all I have left to do is add the panel to the outside of this yellow piece. Now for the inside, it's up to you. You can either add this here and save this spot for a note, which is probably will work the best because you need to be able to write on something. I also did like it sort of attached here, and maybe if you want to add your handwritten message here and not cover up all that fun print, it's entirely up to you. Just whichever you prefer. And basically all of the cards in set B are assembled in the same way. Just remember, attach the ribbon to this panel before you nest the panel onto the card. I will tell you that I already did that the wrong way and had to go back and redo this for you. So it can be done. Just always pay attention to your assembly order. We're once again dealing out panels, and this time we have a lot. And so I think once again we'll consult the instruction document for our images, but our card bases begin with a red, a blue, a green, and a print. And if you just sort of stack everything up and grab the largest panels first, that's probably the easiest way. So we distribute a blue, a red, and a blue if you're following along. Then stack again and grab the next largest panels. Looks like we have a yellow that will go here and here, but not on these guys. Then grab the next largest panels. Study the images to find out what color goes where. I've got a print, and a red plain. Then I'm going to use a green here. I'm going to swap out and use a blue here, a blue here, and a green here. And continuing on, we still have one more. Let's see, thank you. Hi. Party time, party time. Now I've got everything I need to make these cards. Let's slide away our last 3 styles, and we'll make this thank you card together. Of course, You're So Sweet is the inner, and then we've got the other 3 to go with the other cards. Now the trick here, basically, I mean, you know how to make a card, right? And you know how to nest panels, absolutely. What is critical, I think, about making a 5x7 card with this quantity of mats is to just ensure that the mat is centered on the card base, okay? To do that, I usually use my grid ruler to help ensure that the reveal on all 3 sides is the same. And I can find that pretty quickly. For this first larger panel, there should be 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, which is, in other words, 3/8 of an inch from the left edge, the top edge, and the bottom edge if I align the ruler with the edge of the card here. That way I can make sure I'm centered top to bottom and left to right, and this is going to look really nice and professionally done. If you've ever tried to eyeball this and you think you have it, then you walk away, you come back, and it's all crooked. That's what we want to avoid. So that was a 3/8 inch reveal, and what I love about all of the reveals on this card set is that they are varied in size, which I think is attractive. Now in this case, the reveal on this next panel is only 1/8, which again, I like that variety. So I will make sure my ruler is at just 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the blue panel, and that the yellow is centered top to bottom, or that there's 1/8 or 1 cube worth, however you want to look at this. And I'm just resting the panel with the adhesive against the ruler's edge in order to get that positioning. The next one looks like is going to be 1/4 of an inch. So now that's 2 cubes on the ruler. And if you really are committed to learning how to use this ruler in this fashion, you are going to be in luck for lots of beautiful and professional looking cards. And then for this final green panel here, my reveal should be 1/4 of an inch. And it is. Oh, wait, did I say final? I was kidding. There's one more. Should we eyeball this? Okay, there we go. So card base, 1, 2, 3, 4 decorative panels, and then 1 more. It's cut apart sentiment. Plus then on the inside, we'll add our You're So Sweet to go with this. Thank you. On the front. Now, there is the matter of the spoon, and I want to show you how I dealt with that. I'm going to take one of these bright yellow spoons, and you can either add the ribbon or the twine. I'm going to add some twine. Now, what I'd like to do here is just make sure I go around maybe 4 times at least, and then tie a bow, or you can do a knot. Again, it's up to you. I think I did a bow for this, and it doesn't have to be the same. I could use someone, maybe the fly who's been hanging around with me in the office could come and hold its leg down on this knot. It's just you and me and the fly. Okay, trim the tails. The reason I want to have all of that surface area of ribbon here, or of twine in this case, is because that gives me something to put adhesive on. So I can attach this. And if you want, grab it at the other area here. It's up to you. It will dry clear. Just get that contact point and set the spoon down on top of the card, that cut apart. So if you walk away, it might just pop up on its own. An option would be to put a heavy object on top of the spoon so that everything dries in place, and that's not going to go anywhere. For my heavy object, I'll take my attractive little club scrap organizer mug that we have here and set that on there to let that dry. And just a little shameless promotion here. We are releasing our beautiful Club Scrap anniversary mug soon. This is the same company that made our mug this year, or I guess it was last year, Sunset Hill Pottery. They do just an amazing job. These are all hand thrown and they're so beautiful. So come in, we just have a limited number of the anniversary mugs with our special logo on them available to you if you'd like to pick one up. End of commercial. But commercial not ended. The Sprinkles card kit, as you can see now, is super fun, but so is the Sprinkles page kit. So be sure you check out the pages you can make with all your fun summer ice cream photos as well. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope you had fun on this tutorial and you give these cards a try. And then once you've done that, I want to also encourage you to take these same trimming diagrams, follow them carefully with papers from your own stash, and make another whole set of 14 cards. Have fun card making. See you next time.